if you know Jewish history, Jewish lore, so to speak, in the Warsaw Ghetto. Okay, now the Warsaw Ghetto was horrific, much worse than Gaza for sure. My mother would talk about, you're walking through the ghetto and all these people are dying of typhus and dysentery and the bodies are all over the street, But guess what? And the hunger was horrible. It's an interesting thing I never asked, but it was a curiosity for me. My mother never talked really about the horrific conditions like in the concentration camp. She always talked about the hunger. In any event, there was a rich group in the Warsaw Ghetto.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was called. You'll be surprised. It was called the 13. The 13, and you know what the 13 represented? It was 13 Lenchno Street, and that's where they used to hang out. They were the smugglers and the collaborators. And they lived a very good life. I know that sounds strange. The best depiction of it is the stars did not, I can't remember it was the author's name, Bernard Goldstein. The stars did not something. And he describes them. They were, it was like, it's our last days, let's live a merry life. And they lived very well. So when I read about that tier in Gaza, it immediately leapt to mind to me was the 13, and they were hated. There were two groups who were hated in the ghettos. One was the Jewish councils, what they were called the Judenrat, Judenrat, the Jewish councils. They were like the Palestinian Authority. They were appointed by the Nazis to do the dirty work. They knew that they were deporting Jews to the extermination. They knew it, but they did anyway. And so the Jews thought they were, the expression the Nazis used was, we're resettling you in the East. But they weren't resettling in the East. They were sending them to be exterminated. And they went along with it, to save. At the beginning, you could say, at the beginning they thought they were doing a service by acting as, on the Jewish council, acting as a leadership. But at a certain point, they were, in the case of Warsaw, the famous head of the Judenrat, God, his name just slipped my mind. And he committed suicide when he realized this has become very dirty. I can't remember his name. He has a diary, so we know his thinking. But by the end, they were all scum, and they were hated. Actually, when the Warsaw Ghetto, when the uprising began, the first person they killed was the lieutenant of the Jewish Judenrat there. They killed him, and they put a placard in his body, and the placard read, my mother always told the story. She said, the placard read, you lived like a dog, you die like a dog. So that sort of tier exists in every situation, even the situation as atrocious as the Warsaw Ghetto. But there's just no evidence, as I said, that these things are closely monitored by the EU. They're not giving money to enrich Hamas. They're very closely monitoring what their money's being used for. So there's no evidence